Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Walk and Talk with Lamont Carey. And today I have with me my co-host, Gangster. Look at Gangster. He'll piss. Come on, bro, you can't be eating on everything. He'll use the bathroom on everything imaginable. Look at this hill. It's a hill we got to climb. So I wonder, today I thought it was colder than it was. So I'm thankful that it's not. I'm thankful to be here with you all and with my wonderful, amazing, brilliant co-host. So how y'all doing this morning? I think this thing is getting ready to cut off. So as you can see, the snow is gone or barely surviving. So I just got back. Well, I didn't just get back. I got in town last night. Hey. Good morning, gentlemen. Firawi. I know I'm butchering your name. You got to break that jam for me. David. What's happening, champ? Linda. Good morning. So I just came out, got a late start. Really wasn't in the mood to come out. I thought it was freezing, but I'm out here. I'm glad you all joining me. So I spent yesterday inside of a juvenile correctional center with some young men working on conflict resolution, and some mistakes are just so challenging to overcome, at least in the eyes of young folks. Hey, Ski Wee, at least in the eyes of young dudes and young girls. They feel like they are adults with felony convictions, like it's defined in who they are. And I think there was a misunderstanding on their part that their lives are condemned. Ski Week, yes, good morning. Happy Sunday to you. Yes, for Australia, good brother. Good morning. Well, good morning to you. So, young folks, they are struggling with so much. And then to add on these mistakes that they made. And one of the things that always reinforced in my mind is that they don't have like squashing the beef in their repertoire of things to make their lives better. And so they are constantly stuck in this space of fear and fight. Because there's only one or two things, fear or fight. Fight or flight, right? And they choose to fight because they don't believe they have too many other options, because they believe that squashing the beef meaning punking out. And so you spend your time trying to reassure them that squashing the beef doesn't make them less than a man. It actually can save their life. So they have some challenges that, reflect the broader view of young people that I have the pleasure to coming in contact with, but they are so brilliant. We underestimate like how smart and intelligent that they are. A lot of times we be saying dumb youngins, they don't know nothing. But if you give them an opportunity, you create the space where they feel comfortable and not entirely judged by you, or for you looking to criticize every little move or every little thing that they say. If they feel they're going to be criticized, they will not open up. But my goal is always to create a safe space for them to be able to share. And one of the ways that I do that is show some level of vulnerability. And it is so many things that's eating these kids alive. Like, we don't understand what our young folks see with their eyes and how they interpret like simple things that we expose them to. But the biggest thing is the influence of older people on their lives and the influence of people. So I think we have to increase our efforts, Cree, increase our efforts in making sure that we impact older people, because these older people are the ones that's having the most influence on them. And so I believe in this it takes a village. It takes all of us. Cree said, good morning, all. It takes all of us. Hey, C. It takes all of us to be able to make a healthier village, because we can't just focus on young people, in my opinion. If we just focus on the young people, making sure that their minds are changed and they see a brighter future, but then they go back to a home or a community where there's nothing but brokenness, nothing but hopelessness that's being passed on. And so they feed into that pressure. Like we celebrate them and we tell them that they could be anything that they could be, but then they go home or go back to that community and all that hopelessness just surrounds them and consumes them, and it puts them right back on that same track of just surviving. And so, in my opinion, I think we have to continually work with everybody that's within that village, because I think all of the resources that are needed for us to be more successful, for our communities to be more safer, all of those resources exist inside of our community. Polo, good morning. Like the neighbors, all of us have value to offer to the enhancement of our community, which will enhance the lives of the people that's in our community. We have, too often, we have like stores in our community. Heather, good morning. We have stores in our community that just take from the community and never reinvest anything back into the neighborhoods that make them rich. Sometimes they don't even, Polo say good morning, sometimes they don't even clean up their establishment. I've been in little stores that's selling food where they don't even clean, like the walls be looking filthy, the floors be looking filthy. And so it's a reflection not only of themselves, but a reflection on what they feel that they can get away with us in our community, and we put up with it. We still eat their food. They don't sponsor a school trip. They don't sponsor like a little sports team. They do nothing but take away from our communities. And so I think for our communities to be healthier, we got to figure out how to get them people to reinvest in the people that's investing in them, because they'll come in, make all the money that they can make, employ their family, don't even employ people from the community. So all the money that they store makes goes right back out of the community within seconds. And then they'll show us the disdain that they have for us. Not that you are supposed to have security measures to make sure that you don't get robbed, but one of the main attractions that they put up immediately is bulletproof glass in their establishments, so they really never have to really engage with us. Lorenzo, good morning. So, in my opinion, for our communities to be stronger, for our people to be thriving, all of the resources exist in our communities, and we got to figure out how to get those resources engaged and not just look at resources as people that can give us things and money, but also time, wisdom. There are neighbors, right? There are neighbors that don't engage, that have life experiences and lessons that they have learned throughout life that can really impact and encourage individuals that's in our community to do better, to be better, because greatness lies within all of us. But sometimes we have to dig deep to find that rough diamond, and it takes all of us to take them through our machinery shop of knowledge and understanding and support to fine tune that diamond so it recognizes that it's priceless. And so I just believe, like, for our young people, hold on, Linda said, hi King, feeling down today. Just lost my niece yesterday and thinking about things not so good. My grandson is in jail facing time. He's a good young man. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Linda, I am so sorry about your loss. And I don't know what's going through your mind, but Lord, you just gotta know, right, that there are some things that are not within our control, but just focus on the beauty of your niece's life. Focus on the smiles that she created, the memories that she gave you, and focus on that and not so much of the loss, because her spirit still lives on within you. Her life still has value amongst the living. So figure out how to celebrate her. Celebrate her during this time of mourning. And please mourn. I'm not saying do not mourn, but yes, mourn the loss, but also celebrate the life that she has left. And just stay encouraged, my love. And for your nephew that's locked up, one of the best things that I could ever tell you about somebody that's locked up, that's facing some time, is to make sure that he knows the person that he has to have on his team outside of his creator. You got to make your lawyer your best friend. Because I've seen a lot of individuals have these lawyers and treat them bad. But the lawyer is the only one that is your mouthpiece. That is the representative in front of the judge. So in this time while he's still fighting this case, tell him build the best relationship that he possibly can with his lawyer, because if the lawyer believes in you, they fight harder. But if the lawyer doesn't believe in you and you are treated bad, the lawyer is treated bad by his client, he is not going to put in his best effort. And also to take this time while he's fighting this case to dig into himself, to figure out like why he makes the choices that he make and what's going to be needed in order for him to improve his life, whether he gets some time or not. Even we know we're rooting for him, that God has chosen a path that is right for him, but he just encouraging him to make the investment in himself to improve himself. So again, love, I am so sorry about your loss. Polo said, my condolences. Cree said, Miss Linda, I send my condolences to you and your family. I pray for your grandson as well. I said, okay, I'm sorry. I said nephew, grandson. Please forgive me, Miss Linda. So this goes back to the village. I just love how y'all just circled in and send out y'all condolences to her. I think that is beautiful. I think our community, people believe that our community won't engage or don't care about each other, but this just is a prime example of the power that exists within us. And I just hope that we all invest this kind of emotion, this kind of time, this kind of upliftment throughout our communities, because our communities need us. Our community needs to be uplifted, need to come together in celebration of more of graduations than of loss, right? And I just think we all just have so much value. Miss Linda, powerful person, and deal with the loss, but please don't disappear inside yourself. We need you out here. We need to continue to be encouraged by you, guided by you, and those experiences shared with us that you overcome and those that you conquer. So I welcome that. So what do you all think about the village concept, and that the resources that exist to empower our communities, empower the lives that's in our community, exist in our community, and how do we activate those resources to be a part of the community? Because so much is taken, but so less is given, and so much is expected. But these young people, they don't always have the life experiences to be able to weather some of this horror that is coming at them. Glam, good morning, Lynette. So how do we activate our communities to be more engaged? Because for our young people to be stronger, they're gonna need a community of shoulders to stand on that's gonna make them invincible to face this world. A lot of these young men that I just was with yesterday in Florida have high hopes of coming home and doing something extremely dynamic. But the one thing that I was imparting on them is that when you in confinement, it is so easy to block out the world that you're gonna encounter when you come home. It is so easy to be focused on, I'm gonna do the right thing, when you have nothing that's pushing back. Just like in a boxing match. You can hit the heavy bag all day and look beautiful, right? This is how I'm gonna get in that ring, and this is how I'm going to destroy my opponent. Or when you writing your business plan or writing that idea, the thing that you want to accomplish. Patricia, it seems so flawless, but when you start putting it into existence, when you start making moves on it, and that's when you engage the world, and sometimes the world don't be so receptive to the things that we're trying to accomplish. And so it's during those times of resistance, right? It's during those times of rejection that we have to find this greater strength in order for us to push forward, for us to weather the storms and not retreat, right? And so I think as a community of humans, a family, that it is important for us to engage and to be engaged. Because I just remember living in communities where it's simply like, I mind my business, you mind yours. What you do is your business. And we watch the destruction of older people's lives and young people's lives from the windows inside of our house. And we never officially engage. But we are more grateful than that. We are more powerful for that. And I know media sometimes tell us that there is nothing that we can do. But just look at it during this federal government shutdown, how strangers are digging into their inventory, digging into their pockets to help feed individuals that's going through this stressful time. That is what we're capable of. That is what we can do, and we can do it on a consistent basis and minimize the loss, right? But it seems like in times of frustration and the times of devastation is when we really see the goodness of people's hearts. But those people have had good hearts all the time. But so how do we stay activated in helping one another out? These young people need it. And again, one of the things that they don't understand is how to create peace, how to squash beefs that are open inside of their lives. And some of these, Patricia said, wisdom itself. Good morning, Lamont. Good morning, my love. They don't understand peace, right? They don't, and some of their beefs got a body on it, but even those where a body has been lost or somebody has been killed, there are still ways to find peace so you won't have to be in survival mode all of their life, right? We did this exercise where they was going on a job interview and just experienced conflict firsthand. And one of the guys the role was he was having a conflict with another colleague, and he eventually he grabbed for this imaginary gun and put this imaginary gun to this to the kid's head. And I'm like, hold up, how did the gun get into the workplace, right? Why was that your deciding factor on how to alleviate a beef? And then once you listen to them, that is how they are taught. So it is not widely known that a gun does not go to the workplace, right? But even deeper than that, it is not widely understood that a kid that feels that they need to have a weapon already telling you that there's conflict within their life, within their soul, where they don't feel at peace, where they feel like they have to defend themselves. And so that just that easy, right? You can put a child into a job, but if the child has chaos in his life, the chaos that's in his life going to resurface in his productivity. And so that's like with even with housing, when we talk about returning citizens, people that formerly been in prison like myself, putting them in housing, getting them in jobs, which is awesome. What's going to create some stability in the right ones' lives. But if we haven't helped them work on change, like you can't put an addict, if you put an addict into a house and you haven't helped them address what produces or created the addict in them and how to get them outside of that, then you might just have an addict in a house that's just getting high. And a story that we heard yesterday was about a guy in a similar situation and just never really engaged in that house. So, but the community, us, me, Lotus, hey, happy Sunday to you as well. Us, me, you, we have the power. We have the potential to create magnificent people all around us by sharing who we are. And I think for us to improve the safety in our community, to improve the lives in our community, that we really gonna have to engage. And we can't allow people not to engage. Everybody has to be held accountable, because what happens in our community affects our community. Not just us feeling safe in our community, it even impacts the value of our homes, the value of ourselves. So I just feel like, how you got any suggestions on how we better engage? How do we come out of our fear of thinking that we have nothing to offer to the people in our community, to the kids in our community? Any suggestions on how we can begin to approach that to improve the village, right? Because we just focus on the young people and they come home or come back to the community of the chaos. Oh, this is another thing. In this group, when we're asked, like, what are some of the things that trigger them to respond negatively, and they said, like, if something is said about my neighborhood, something is said about my county, right? And I had to break that down to them, like, look, it is awesome to want to represent where you come from. But it is never a good thing to be willing to die for something that doesn't love you the way that you love it, and that they will move you in the blink of an eye. So there's nothing wrong with being proud of where you come from, but you ain't got to die for that land. You don't own that land. And if them people decide to throw a railroad through there, they will move you out in the flash of an eye. And we don't protest that. We don't fight that. Young people don't know to fight that. They don't know that their voices have power. They don't engage in voting, or if they're not old enough, they don't encourage their family to vote. They don't understand that that is part of one of the ways that you fight for what you want. But we will kill each other. We will kill each other, the same people that look like us, that don't have those resources. We will kill each other to protect the reputation of a neighborhood, of a county that we live in. And when that neighborhood and that county will not protect or defend us in the same way, but we allow our blood or the blood of our children to seek into those grounds and into that cement. So those counties, those states, those neighborhoods, that is why we have to make them become a part of our village. They have to be a part of it. They have to be held accountable, because our future depends on it. Our babies' lives depend on it. And so as parents, as neighbors, I just think it's our responsibility to make not only government officials, but neighbors, police officers, store owners to step up. If you're gonna work in our community, if you're gonna Paulo say amen, if you're gonna take from our community the wealth that we build, if you're gonna tap into that wealth and create generational wealth for your family, but you don't sponsor a game, you don't sponsor a little girls team, it just doesn't make sense. And I think that we have to figure out, because I don't know all the answers, of how as a community that we get out the other members of our community to engage in the enhancement and upliftment of the people in our community. I'm telling you, our young people need us. Our seniors need us. And just our adults in between need us. We just have so much value to offer somebody else's life. And even our own lives, right? When we don't engage, we're not reaping the full benefits of the wisdom and knowledge that surround us, right? We're not able to excel because we don't network with our neighbors, right? So you can have this idea of anything. So say you want to start some kind of company, and you can live in an apartment building, you on the first floor, and you don't know. So say you want to be a chef, and you in there reading books, you watching YouTube, you doing all of these things to figure out how to be a chef. But this neighbor that you pass every day is the favorite cousin of a world-renowned chef. And because you may engage, but we limited our engagement. Hey, Just, good morning. We limit our engagement. We don't be like, we'll do the pleasantries. How you doing, neighbor? Oh, yes, the mailman is late again, right? We'll do stuff like that. But how often do you share your vision? How often do you share your dream? Loda said we have to be gatekeepers, though. I don't think you should have people in your community that have enabled your community to be broken down. Of course, Just said good morning. So give me an example, Loda, so we can be clear and we can focus on that, right? So we definitely don't want to be enablers to allow people that keeps our community broken down. So how do you say that we engage those that are broken, and that is breaking our community down, because everybody needs some help? And I know this isn't what you're saying, but the thing that I learned firsthand is that we can never lock away our problems. Not saying that some people don't need to experience incarceration, but that isn't the key. And generation after generation showed that isn't the key to solving our community problems, or not engaging them doesn't solve our community problems. Lotus said, I have seen a community that has built their own businesses, their own I don't know what DRS is, my love. Their own hospital, their own shops, etc. Yes. Marion said, oh, good morning, Marion. Marion said, good morning. Lotus, I've seen that too. And the first one that I heard, at least in the black community, was Black Wall Street, right? Where they had their own banks, they had their own hospitals, own schools, powerful black community. And from what history says is that another race that was around them didn't like that, didn't like to see them being built up and thriving. So they eventually bombed that community, the Black Wall Street, and tore apart, I think like 300 people, I could be wrong, so forgive me if I'm misquoting, like 300 deaths, right? Nobody was prosecuted really for that. And a black thriving community was destroyed. So how do we protect those communities? If we build up our communities, how do we legally protect that so something like a Black Wall Street can never happen again? Lotus said they are not relying on government. They have their own energy, etc. So I definitely agree on the not relying on government, but we also got to stay connected and be aware of the history, right? Marion says, sorry, doctors and doctors. Okay. I hope you all right. So we got to also be mindful of history too, of people, because, you know, not saying that this is what you're saying, Lotus, but nobody wants to be on government assistance, I believe, right? Deep down inside, we all want to be doing our own thing, but are we being encouraged? Are we being supported? Because if you remember, from my understanding, when they started public housing, right? When they started these government assistance programs, because if you remember before segregation, I'm just talking about the black community, right? Before segregation ended, black communities were like thriving, right? Almost like Black Wall Streets. And then when they ended segregation, things changed rapidly. Not champion segregation. I'm just from what I'm learning, right? And then when they started public housing, one of the stipulations for a woman to get public housing is that she couldn't have a man on the premises, right? So that's telling a woman, for me to provide you shelter, adequate shelter for your babies, you got to let your man go. But people are quick to say that black men abandon their families. But what about things like that separates families? This almost reminds me of this immigration thing where they're separating the families at the border. But in the black community, for at least damn near a century now, that black families have been broken apart. In order for you to have shelter, your husband cannot live with you. I remember my father running and jumping in the closet. But Lotus said, yes, this is a black community in Georgia. Dr. Ali and his wife, Dion, have started this community. They have their own schools. We need our own leaders to develop leaders and groom them to be leaders and develop their communities. Ski Wee said, breaking up the black family. So right, so I would learn, send me something on that, the doctor and them, so I can learn more about them. But let's just be mindful that, like, how do we got to empower people? Because if you even know that people that are receiving public assistance cannot have any income coming from somewhere else so say like you can't make like a $400 outside of that without losing those benefits. Now, I remember somebody I know and love that was on public assistance, went through one of their welfare to work programs and got a job and was panicking because they cut like the food stamps and they raise the rent of the Section 8 housing. So how do we institute like that support system where they know that they're going to be able to make it, where they know they're going to be able to thrive? If I'm getting $300 a month to take care of my family from the government, but I want to work, right? I want to work in the jobs that I am capable of getting, maybe say like a service job where I'm making $10 an hour, that is not going to be able to pay this rent the rent for where I live at. And so I'm going to be hesitant on like really trying to succeed, because now I don't want to lose my shelter. So Patricia said community should start from the crib, teaching our children to start day from home onward to at least say good morning. Communication is the key. Yes, it is. Ozara, good morning. Ozara said, good morning, my friend. Thank you for talking about this. Right. It's my pleasure. So how do we help the most vulnerable people in our community? And so that isn't just our kids, but it's definitely connected to our kids. Eugene, what's up? From Ponds to Kings, what's happening, champ? So how do we empower our community in a way? How do we hold the resources within our community to make them engage in our community versus just taking away? And we want our people to move into their dreams, into the middle class and all that. But let's be realistic that some of the issues that we created is not just by the individuals themselves. Again, couldn't get Section 8, couldn't get housing unless the man wasn't a part of the house, wasn't a part of the home. And those were mainly black families, right? So the father is pushed out, right? He's worthless, he's not, so now the Uncle Sam is the father. And so how do we build that stability within our community, within our women, within our men, to try to help bring us back together as family units? Because a lot of people like to say that black men always leave their families, but I don't know if they ever look at what causes it. Like what creates that issue. So how do we enhance our family? How do we create a better life for our community? How do we make the people that take from our community to become participants of our community and help build up our community versus taking the resources from our communities? And we have to understand what created the situations that our communities currently are in now. Skiwi said, I went through the program as well and moved out the neighborhood that I saw was changing into drug-infested area, and decided to take the risk of paying market rent and never turn back. And I am very thankful for the program and have been serving the federal government over 20 years. Congratulations. So Skiwi, how do we duplicate you? How do we build that determination and knowing that if I stay focused on this, that I can overcome this safety net? How do we build up that courage? Because we know in a lot of the communities, generational. Grandmothers was in those public housings, the mother in the public housing, and now the child is thinking that they're going to be good in public housing. Ozara said we have to get back to the basics. Families need to come back together. Asian, India, Latinas will have mama, papa, grandma, and granddaddy in the house, building wealth, saving money, helping with bills and babysitting. We are so divided and spread out for our family. Family is the safety net. I totally agree. So how do we get into that mindset? How do we say family is the key? How do we get there? Because sometimes we'll get our first house, don't want a family member living in there, right? We want that space for ourselves. And we be like, I got mine, you got to get yours. Or we get this powerful job, get to earn this money and move straight out of the community and never like re-engage. It seems like we never really provide the blueprint so that other people can take that same track right out into a more productive life. Ozara said the shutdown might be a gift and a disguise. How so? How so? So, because the goal is to empower our families, because again, I was in here with these young boys yesterday that want something better for themselves, but really are not sure how to make it happen. And they got these beefs in the streets. Some of them got bodies on it, and so they don't understand, is there a way to be forgiven? Is there a way to squash these beefs? But the bigger picture is, a lot of this come from, like you all saying, from the tear down of the family. So how do we build stronger family units? How do we build stronger communities? Patricia said, start teaching our children to be responsible, to finish what they start. Teach them the importance of learning to read and write. I can't agree with you more. Ozara said, forcing us to get back together and stop being separate. Felicia, scat, poet extraordinaire. How do we do this though? Because it's not going to be easy. So how do we begin doing this? Forming tribes out of necessity. So I mean, like, what is the process? How do we start to build these platforms? Well, one of the things I like is this, that you all are sharing your amazing ideas. But tomorrow, right, I want to come back to this and we focus on like what steps that we all think can be needed, should be utilized, and how do we begin taking those steps? Because in to improve our community, it's going to take out of the box thinkers like you all to save our babies from lives of hardship, death, and incarceration. It's going to take your great minds, because you all making these amazing choices, doing these amazing things. But we're going to have to sit down and put some stuff in together to pull this off. Because at the end of the day, the babies are our future, and we got to make sure they walking into a future that isn't going to be devastating. And how do we make the people in our community to be a part of our community versus just taking from it? How do we make your life safe? How do we make my life safe? Even gangsters' life. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for being here. I want to see you all tomorrow. Comment, share, tell somebody. I'll be back with you tomorrow. Felicia said, stop being selfish but selfless and helping each other and being transparent. Transparency is a big step. A whole lot of people ain't comfortable letting you know they're demons. Because I did the show the other day, Becoming a Monster. Lamont Carey, Becoming a Monster, right? Where I was telling my story. And afterwards, I was just so concerned that maybe I gave too much of me, right? And so I'm still waiting to see if I gave too much of me. Ozara said, look up Pastor Cardwell's low to mid-income house buying program, Corinthian Point in Houston. Skiwi, yes, you are right. Generation of families. And I asked this question to a young male that lived in the neighborhood that wasn't going to school, and his parents said nothing. But I encouraged him that education is the key, and he went and got his GED and is doing well for himself and his children. And I have said all of you have to do now is have the courage to move out of this neighborhood. Yes, yes, Ozara said. Yes, Felicia. Polo said, thanks to you for wisdom. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to see you all tomorrow, okay? 8 a.m. unless I have something else to do. But I'm not going to be doing nothing tomorrow. I'm going to be here with y'all, ready to put on this armor, ready to uplift our community. So I'll be back. Ozara says, example of building for ourselves. They also have business. All right, entrepreneurship is the way we